I think, like many policy issues, the links between homelessness and literacy and numeracy are um, it's very complex. It's a classic wicked policy problem. The causes and effects are frequently entwined together. We do know that lower literacy and numeracy skills present at a much higher rate amongst people who are affected by homelessness, up to about 3 times what you would see in the general population. And this can have roots in a lot of different areas. Obviously, disruptions to early education are, really highly correlated with lower literacy and numeracy later in life, and also higher likelihood of experiencing homelessness. And there are numerous impacts of lower literacy and numeracy skills for this population. So um, naturally, there's going to be impacts in terms of their income potential. So those who have lower literacy and numeracy skills are likely to earn somewhere between 30 and 40% less over their lifetime than people who don't struggle with these skills. Um, it also could have impacts on their health. So lower literacy means there is a much stronger likelihood of hospitalization and terminal illness, simply because the lack of health literacy and the lack of being able to access basic health advice that would normally act as an insulating force for people who are literate. Um, Furthermore, those with low numeracy skills are more likely to have financial missteps, which increases their precarity, especially if they are working in jobs where, by nature, the jobs are more precarious. There's fewer protections that somebody with lower literacy skills could expect in a job. And of course, it's probably going to be lower income as well. So there's less security, less financial security in those cases. Things that we know about people who are experiencing homelessness, they likely have adverse past experiences with education, and they may also experience strong feelings of stigma because of low literacy skills. So any sort of literacy instruction is going to need to target that. Another thing we know is that um, those who are experiencing homelessness are also a lot more likely to have learning disabilities and learning difficulties like dyslexia. Um, we also know that they have really acute needs, right, that need to be met. And oftentimes those needs, like access to housing, access to healthcare, can act to deprioritize literacy instruction. And so any sort of intervention that is trying to target literacy and numeracy skills with this population is going to need to address those 3 things. I'm going to sound like every other researcher out there, which is we need more evidence, right? We need to not only understand what works for improving literacy and numeracy amongst people experiencing homelessness, but even just measuring it. We don't necessarily have very firm numbers and a great understanding of the extent of literacy and numeracy skill problems amongst people experiencing homelessness. So more research is necessary, but we're not at a complete loss, right? There are things we can do in order to improve outcomes for people with low literacy and numeracy skills. We do know a lot about what works for literacy instruction and numeracy instruction for adults. So we can leverage that knowledge as well. So for example, for literacy instruction, guided reading is still a very powerful way to improve reading skills. For those who have even lower reading skills, sight words are still very useful. Phonics, sounding words out, these are things that we know work across different demographic groups and could definitely be employed here. Numeracy is a similar thing. Diagramming word problems and kind of gradual release instruction is still a very good method of building those numeracy skills. And again, if you pair that with occupational skills like learning how to build a personalized budget, I think you can make a really big impact in building those foundational numeracy skills.